You feel the ice burning your skin. Your feet are numb and soaked. You can barely hold the axe. Your hands are shaking so badly from the cold you could drop it. You hear screams. They're not screams of pain, they're war cries. Huge men are running toward you. Frozen beards, bloodshot eyes, axes gleaming in the pale sun. You taste your own blood in your mouth. Your breath forms clouds of steam. Your heart pounds so hard you feel it in your temples. You see the first Viking approaching. He's twice your size. He has scars on his face. He smiles as he raises the axe. You have 3 seconds to decide. Run or fight. You choose fight. Stop. You're not in a movie. You're living an ordinary day in the Viking Age. Forget horned helmets. Forget romantic heroes. The truth is, you've just entered the most brutal and glorious world in history, where 8-year-olds knew how to wield axes, where women commanded armies, where men sailed icy oceans in search of glory or death. You're about to find out if you have what they had, because in the Viking Age there was no place for the weak. You've just felt the ice burn your skin. You've just faced your first Viking warrior. But now you need to understand something. That man who nearly killed you was once a child like you, but a child forged in hell. You're born in a wooden hut. There's no doctor, no hospital. There's only a woman with bloody hands pulling you into a world that doesn't want you alive. If you survive childbirth, you've won your first battle, but it's only the beginning. At 3, you already know that the cold kills. You sleep with animals for warmth. You eat raw meat when there's no fire. You learn that crying is a waste of energy. At 5, your father puts a knife in your hand. It's not a game, it's survival. He teaches you how to cut meat, how to clean fish, how to open the belly of a dead animal. At 8, you get your first axe. You train every day. Your hands bleed, your muscles ache, but you don't stop, because to stop is to die. If you're a boy, you learn to fight. If you're a girl, you learn to fight and to command. Viking women aren't fragile, they're wolves. At 12, the time has come. Your father wakes you in the middle of the night. Today you become a man, he says, or you die trying. You go into your first battle, not as a spectator, but as a warrior. You feel the same cold you felt a moment ago. You hold the same axe. You see the same terror in the enemy's eyes. But now you understand. It's not just a fight, it's a ritual. For it's the moment you prove you deserve to be alive. And if you fail, if you run, if you show fear, you become nothing. Worse than dead, you become forgotten. Because in the Viking Age, being born isn't enough. You must earn the right to exist. You survived your first test. You proved you deserve to exist. Now you return home a warrior. But home in the Viking era isn't what you imagine. You push open the heavy door of the communal house. The smell hits you like a punch. Human sweat, animal feces, smoked meat, and something you'd rather not identify. 50 people live here. Men, women, children, the elderly, all in the same space. There's no privacy, no separate rooms. There's only collective survival. On the right side, the cows. On the left, the pigs. In the center, entire families sleep on beds of straw infested with fleas. The ceiling leaks, the walls are damp, the floor is packed earth mixed with excrement. You lie down on your bed, a pile of stinking sealskins. You close your eyes, but you can't sleep because you hear everything. Every snore, every moan, every animal moving. At 4 a.m. you wake up, not because you want to, but because you have to. The ground has been frozen for 8 months. If you don't plant now, everyone will starve. You pick up an iron hoe. Each blow to the frozen earth sends waves of pain through your arms. You plant barley in soil that feels like rock. You pray to Freya, the god of fertility, because without him you are dead. Beside you, a woman is working. But she's no ordinary woman, she's a warrior. She has a scar that runs from her left eye to her chin. She killed 3 men in the last battle. She runs the farm when the men are away. She decides who eats and who goes hungry. She trains the children for war. She can divorce if her husband is a coward. You see her lifting stones that you can barely carry. You see her controlling wild horses. You see her scanning the horizon, looking for enemies, because in the Viking village everyone is a warrior. Everyone is a judge. Everyone is an executioner. There is no police, there is no government, there is only the code. The strong survive, the weak serve the strong. And you've just discovered that in the Viking Age, there's no rest, only the next fight. You've spent months planting crops in the frozen earth. You've sweated blood so the village wouldn't starve. But now you hear something that makes your heart race. Horns sounding from the harbor, long, deep, terrifying. It's the call every Viking waits for and fears at the same time. You leave your hoe on the ground, you run to the harbor. There it is, the longship, the most perfect war machine ever created. 30 meters of curved wood, a dragon's head carved into the prow that seems to be alive, oars that gleam like swords, and on the mast, a sail that flutters like the wings of death. You feel your hands trembling, not from the cold but from excitement or from terror. The leader shouts, "Who comes with us? Who wants glory?" You look at your village, at your family, at your safe life planting barley. You can stay, you can live a long and peaceful life, but you can also die forgotten. You climb aboard the boat, 60 men, all armed to the teeth, all with the same look. Hungry for battle, hungry for gold, hungry for glory. You grab your oar and begin rowing. The sea is icy. The waves are mountains of water trying to capsize the boat. You row for 18 hours straight. Your hands bleed, your back aches, but you don't stop, because to stop is to drown. Finally, you see land. It's not your land, it's enemy land, a rich land, a land that doesn't know you're coming. You beach the boat on a deserted beach. You grab axes, swords, shields. You paint your faces with blood. You transform into demons. The leader whispers, "Leave no one alive. Leave nothing whole." You run toward the village. You cry like wolves. You break down doors. You kill guards. You steal everything that shines. In 20 minutes, it's all over. The village is in flames. You are covered in blood. You are rich. You return to the boat carrying gold, silver, food, slaves. You sail back home before anyone can pursue you. You are no longer a farmer. You are a nightmare. You are the reason mothers scare children. You have become a true Viking. You return home laden with gold. You are a hero. You are rich. You are feared. But in the village, a man is waiting for you on the shore. It is Magnus, the same Magnus who grew up with you, who trained with you, who considered you a brother. But now he is blocking your path. And in his eyes you see something that freezes your blood. Pure rage. "You killed my cousin," he screams. "Did you burn the village where he lived?" You didn't know. When raiding, you didn't ask for names, you just killed. But now you understand, you killed his family. And according to Viking codes, that means one thing: revenge. I challenge you to the home gang. He shouts, "Duel to the death." The whole village gathers. It's not entertainment, it's justice, it's religion. It's the most sacred law of the Vikings. You stand on a small island, each with axe and shield. There is no escape, no negotiation, only blood. The judge shouts, "May Odin decide who speaks the truth." You stare at each other. Two men who were friends, now two starving animals. Magnus strikes first. His axe slices the air millimeters from your face. You counterattack. Your axe meets his shield with a clang that echoes across the water. You fight for an hour. Blood flows, both of you. You are exhausted. You are dying. But you don't stop. Because in the Viking code, to die fighting is glory, to die running is eternal shame. Finally, you see an opening. You strike, your axe piercing his chest. Magnus falls, but before he dies, he whispers, "My son will hunt you, and my son's son, and my son's son's son." Do you understand? You haven't finished revenge. You've started a war that will last generations. Because in the Viking code, honor is worth more than life. Revenge is worth more than peace. And an offense to blood is only repaid with blood. You return home victorious, but you know you now have enemies. Enemies who will haunt you until death. Because in the Viking Age, there is no forgiveness. There is only the next duel. You killed Magnus, you won the duel, but now you live looking over your shoulder. Every shadow could be his relative. Every stranger could be a murderer. But all of that will have to wait, because now the true test of the Viking Age has arrived: winter. You see the first snowfalls approaching. The sun disappears from the horizon and won't return for 6 months. 6 months of total darkness. The temperature plummets to 30-40 degrees. Your breath turns to ice before it leaves your mouth. Your saliva freezes on your tongue. You lock yourself in the communal house with the other 50 people. There is no choice. Outside, it's certain death. Now you live in a space smaller than your living room, with 50 bodies, 20 animals. And the smell is indescribable. You haven't bathed in 6 months. There is no liquid water, only ice. You stink, everyone stinks. The air is so thick you can barely breathe. Breathe. The food starts to run out. You had smoked meat for 3 months, but winter will last 6. The impossible decisions begin. Old Eriksson is weak. He eats but doesn't produce. He takes up space but doesn't help. You look at him. He looks at you. Everyone knows what needs to be done, but no one speaks. Because speaking is taking responsibility. One morning, Eriksson doesn't wake up. Officially, he died of cold, but everyone knows he died of hunger. A hunger you chose. You take his body. It's frozen solid. You throw him outside, the wolves do the rest. Another month, the meat is gone. You eat leather, you eat bones, you eat anything that isn't poisonous. You feel your mind starting to disintegrate. The constant darkness, the confinement, the smell, the hunger. You see strong men crying like children. You see warrior women babbling to themselves. You see children who stop playing and just stare at the void. You understand why the Vikings are obsessed with death. Because living like this is worse than dying. Much worse. So you do the only thing that keeps you sane. You plan the next raid. You dream of sailing again. You dream of fighting again. Because in the Viking Age, war is not hell. War is the escape from hell. You survived the winter. You survived the famine. You survived the madness. But now you understand why the Vikings have a strange obsession. They don't want to live forever. They want to die as heroes. You awaken on a spring morning. The sun has returned. You can breathe fresh air, you can move freely. You should be happy, but you aren't. You're afraid. Afraid of having to go through it all again. Afraid of another winter. Afraid of another famine. And then you hear the stories. Stories of Valhalla, Odin's golden hall, where dead warriors fight every day and feast every night, where there is no cold, where there is no hunger, where there is no suffering. But there is a rule. Only warriors who die with weapons in hand enter. Only those who die fighting enter. If you die of disease, you go to Helheim, a cold, grey, miserable place worse than life. If you die of Velis, you go to Helheim. If you die of hunger, you go to Helheim. If you die of anything other than battle, you are doomed. You begin to understand why the Vikings seek war. It's not courage, it's desperation. It's the only chance to escape the miserable life. You prepare for the next battle, but this time it's different. You're not going to conquer, you're going to die. You clean your weapons. You sharpen them to razor-sharp edges. You paint your shield with sacred runes. You say goodbye to your family because you know you may not return. And part of you hopes you won't. You pray to Odin, "Allfather, if it's my time, take me to Valhalla. Don't let me live to suffer another winter." You march into battle. You shout the battle cry. You fight as one, demon-possessed. You seek a glorious death, but you survive again. You return home again. You will have to face another winter again. And you realize the cruel irony of the Viking Age. The only ones who wanted to die were those too strong to die. You are trapped in a life you don't want to live. In a time you didn't choose, in a body that refuses to break. You understand that being a Viking isn't being a hero. It's being a hostage to your own fate. You fought in more than 20 battles. You survived 15 winters. You killed enemies and lost friends. You lived a life few men could endure. But now you return home. You flip a switch. Instant light. You open the refrigerator. Abundant food. You turn on the heater. Instant warmth. You complain that traffic is slow, that your boss is boring, that the internet is down, that life is unfair. And suddenly you stop. You remember. You remember the hunger that gnawed at your insides for months. You remember the cold that froze your blood. You remember the constant terror of being murdered in your sleep. You look at the people on the street complaining about the air conditioning, the restaurant food, their cell phone's slow speed. You think they don't know what real suffering is. Do you remember the Vikings you knew? Men who killed without blinking, women who commanded armies, children who learned to fight before they could read. They had no therapy, no medicine, no human rights. They had only one choice, be strong or die. And yet they created art, they created poetry, they created laws, they created a society. You realize that the Viking Age isn't over. It's transformed. Viking blood still runs through the veins of millions of people. You see this blood in the courage of those who face the impossible, in the determination of those who don't give up, in the loyalty of those who protect their family above all else. You understand that you don't have to be born in the Viking Age to be a Viking. You just need to have the courage to face your own dragons. Your dragon might be a tyrannical chief. It might be a disease, it might be betrayal, it might be poverty. But the choice is the same as the Vikings. Do you fight or do you die? You honor your blood, or you live like a coward. You look in the mirror. You see the face of someone descended from warriors, from explorers, from people who crossed unknown oceans, in search of something greater. You have the same blood, you have the same strength, you have the same choice. The question isn't whether you would survive the Viking Age. The question is, are you honoring the sacrifice of your ancestors? Because inside you is a Viking waiting to awaken. You've just lived through the Viking Age. Did you feel the ice cutting into your skin? Did you feel the hunger gnawing at your stomach? Did you feel the weight of the axe in your hands, trembling with cold? Now you know the truth no one tells you. Vikings weren't just savage warriors, they were survivors. They were a civilization that faced the impossible and prevailed. But you made it this far. You had the courage to face this brutal reality, even when it made you question your strength. This proves you have warrior blood. You're not like most who give up at the first hurdle. You want to know where your strength comes from. You want to understand what your ancestors passed so that you could be here. And if you truly felt every word I said, if you truly sailed the icy seas with me, then you need to do something. You need to awaken the Viking within you. So click that like button, not for me, but for every warrior who died in battle so that you could live in peace. For every woman who commanded a village while the men were at war. Subscribe to the channel because I promise I'll continue showing you that you're descended from giants, that you carry the DNA of those who conquered the impossible. Share this video. Show it to someone who's facing difficulties. Let them understand that Viking blood runs through their veins. And tell me in the comments, after everything you've experienced today, will you still complain about your problems, or will you face them like a true descendant of the Lords of the Sea? Because within you there's a Viking, and he's waiting to awaken. May the gods of thunder and sea guide your warrior path.